Well, there are some pretty crazy and very ironic allegations going on right now about the founder of a nonprofit organization called AbleGamers Foundation. If we look on the old Wikipedia here, it says the AbleGamers Foundation is an American nonprofit organization dedicated to improving accessibility in the video game space, enabling more people with disabilities to be able to play video games. The charity creates resources, assists individuals in getting the peripherals they need, runs scholarships, and works with video game publishers and video game companies to improve accessibility. That all sounds fantastic and great, and even if you look at their website, the first paragraph here, you see that they say, "At AbleGamers, we are steadfast in our mission to create opportunities that enable play for people with disabilities and improve their quality of life, while prioritizing two core objectives, enabling people with disabilities to access video games with ease, and empowering game creators and developers to design games with maximum accessibility." So yeah, essentially they are this big organization that has been around since 2004, and they advocate and help and actually do a lot of hands-on things like making tools, all with the objective of making it easier for people with certain handicaps and certain disabilities to play video games. I think that is obviously a very cool thing, right? Like, I think that's just overall just a universal fantastic thing that everybody can support. But it turns out the founder of the whole organization, Mark Barlet, is being accused of some very bad things. So that's what I want to kind of make the point of before we get into it. You know, all of these allegations are about Mr. Marky Mark here. It is not about the AbleGamers charity or any of the employees there. In fact, there are a bunch of employees that come forward to IGN in this huge article and talk about this whole toxic work environment that Mark allegedly created. But yeah, I just want to make that point. All of these allegations are about Mark, not about the charity itself. And nowadays it does look like Mark has stepped down from the charity, so it doesn't look like he really has any association with it at all. But yes, to put a face to the name, here is a picture of Mark Barlet. This is the first picture that came up when I googled his name. He is obviously doing a very spot-on cosplay of Better Call Saul here. Okay, so anyway, to get to the huge IGN article, I'm linking it in the description. There is a lot to read through. But yeah, essentially it's just a ton of anonymous employees that have come forward and are accusing him of a bunch of different stuff, like the person in HR, for example. So it says in one part, according to the corroborated account of a former employee who wished to remain anonymous, Mark Barlett's behavior became concerning a few years after the employee joined the organization. Throughout the approximately 10 years the employee worked there, the employee describes several instances of sexist and emotionally abusive comments that were directed toward them, and then it says, quote, "He kept telling me I was HR for the charity because I am a woman. At the time, I was the only woman in the charity. He then sent me to work on a literal HR case that I now know was really illegal of me because I actually did not have these credentials." Now, it goes on to say that this same source would witness behavior from Mark that was definitely aggressive. The source described incidents including overhearing racist remarks about other employees, a time that they had to verbally break up a conflict between Mark Barlet and another coworker, and witnessing a number of inappropriate comments from Mark Barlet, such as, I need to put this into context too. This is a comment allegedly from the head of a nonprofit organization that helps people with disabilities. Okay, just keep that in mind. That is that person saying this allegedly. Quote, "We need to get the most effed up disabled person to be on our marketing, the one with real multiple disabilities." Wow, that is some A+ leadership. And finally, with this same source, Bartlett would also allegedly make sexual explicit remarks and comments about them in front of others, especially during staff meetings or when working together in person. Yeah, staff meetings are definitely the best time to make those comments, for sure. I mean, not that there's any good time to make those comments toward an employee. Now, throughout the rest of this article, you definitely get a sense of alleged narcissism from Mark Barlet. Like, it really seems like his overall goal of helping others with disabilities has definitely been overshadowed by maybe his own ego or his own status that he wants to have in this community. It says that Mark Barlet's allegedly hostile and inappropriate behaviors were not regulated to just AbleGamers alone. The source notes that Barlet would consistently talk down to or insult other accessibility advocates within the space. To them, it seemed that Barlet wanted AbleGamers to be the only resource of accessibility within the industry, and when others grew in presence, he would speak ill of them at best and threaten them at worst. And then it says that they were all at this game accessibility conference, and when he was there, he said something about almost every speaker that came up. He would apparently make comments about everybody that spoke. He would just say that they are idiots, and one woman, he would tote that she only got her position because of her father, and she doesn't know what she's doing. This was maybe my favorite quote out of the whole thing. It says, "Yet another accessibility advocate that also wished to remain anonymous also corroborated Bartlett's behavior. After Barlet discovered that this person was interested in pursuing accessibility, this person notes that Barlet stated over a phone call, quote, 'You are a drop in the pond of accessibility, and I own the pond.'" Oh my god. This is the scene, this is literally the scene from Holes where the guy says, "The duck may swim on the lake, but my daddy owns the lake." Dude, I mean, okay, obviously this is all alleged, but if this is actually true, if the dude actually said this, dude thought that was so tough. Now, also with narcissism comes very reckless spending, and it seems that this was the case for Mark. At the end of the day, this is a charity, this is supposed to be a nonprofit, and it really sounds like he was not using a lot of these donations for very good uses. It says both former employees we spoke to noted the purchase of a Tesla vehicle charger for the headquarters. According to the original source, some members of leadership directed their teams to be more frugal with their budgets, citing funding concerns. The source explains that Mark paid to have a Tesla charger at the headquarters. None of us drove a Tesla except for him. The second source notes that the independent board of AbleGamers began combing through credit card statements or bank transfer statements within the past year. They came across the Tesla charger and they expressed frustration with him using AbleGamers money to install a Tesla charger. And apparently Mark Barlet claimed to do this for the whole organization, but like the first source said, the second source notes that nobody within the company drove a Tesla besides Mark. So then, yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of different allegations of a lot of this stuff. There were some big allegations in May over racism, ableism, sexual harassment, misogyny, and failure by certain members of leadership and the board to protect employees. That one's kind of interesting. Now, it looks like this did lead to a whole investigation, and on September 25th of last year, Mark was finally stepping down. I want to add this last part here. So IGN did actually have a section at the end where they do give Mark a chance to speak. I guess they interviewed him multiple times, but after all of his side of the story, it says that throughout numerous email exchanges with IGN as well as the interview with him, Mark Barlet provided no evidence to refute the allegations, only his word. And when asked to show appropriate documentation, he repeatedly denied, insisting that he was not able to provide information unless correspondence was entirely off the record. He also failed to provide other sources to corroborate his claims, again only willing to provide the information if interviews were completely, entirely off the record. So obviously it is up to anybody to determine if Mark really was a bad person or if he was just, framed for all of this. My personal opinion reading through all of this, I think that Mark deep down is probably a good person. Some people might disagree with that, and that's fine, but I like to see the good in people. I think he probably started this whole thing out with good intentions. Keep in mind this started in 2004. This was 21 years ago. I just think that probably at a certain point, things just got to his head. If I were a betting man, I would say that the person he was 21 years ago is probably not the person that he ended up being today. This kind of stuff can do that to just normal everyday people. You know, you can just kind of get an ego, you can get a big head, and unfortunately that can lead you to be a not very good leader, and that can lead to some pretty toxic work environments. So with this bombshell report from IGN, it does look like that was unfortunately the case at AbleGamers, but not anymore since Mark, as of last year, is now gone.